stage. So let me invite IC Liu on stage to have a brief introduction to himself.
That's a good one. My name is IC Liu. I think a little bit wrong. Most of the people here are 20 years old, younger than I am, are than a senior guy here. We are pretty much all for the same generation, but he did a lot of things in the blockchain industry. I think the reason why they invite me to this event is because to position me as an old guy in the banking industry, which is true. But a lot of things changed already. I don't think the legacy banking industry could actually fight against the new trend. Not anymore. You see a lot of success in the cryptocurrency industry, this and that. Not only that, the young generation is going to play more and more important role in the future financial world. Based on my estimates, in the last 3 or 5 years, you will see a lot of countries open up their market for the fiat to flow on the blockchain, let alone the cryptocurrency in the blockchain area. So again, I think it's going to be a long night, so I'm gonna do that without further ado. Give that back to you. No, I think that's you one. Thanks.
Thank you. And also, I would like to introduce our online panel guest, Hirsch, to introduce himself, and then I guess you'll open your camera and you can say hi to everyone here.
Yeah, I can't turn on. It says that the host needs to allow me to turn on my camera. You can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
Give us a second. We just gonna.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. So before we start and that introduction later, I'm just gonna briefly talk about the program for tonight. So we're gonna have a couple questions. Okay. Gonna ask with all our panelists. Oh, hi, welcome, Hirsch. Maybe introduce yourself first. Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Rish Latlakar. I'm co-founder and CEO of Superworld. Superworld is a virtual world built on top of the real world on the Ethereum blockchain. We've divided the surface of the earth into 64 billion NFTs that you can buy and become a stakeholder on the platform.
Okay, thank you. And then I'd like to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to go through the program, we're going to ask some questions, and then we're going to have some Q&A time later. So you can also leave your question at the Zoom chat. So later on, you're going to pass me a question to ask. So let's get it started. So for the first question, I actually would like to ask Ivan. So what is Web 3.0? And then also we know that the blockchain market overall is growing really fast internationally, also in Taiwan. How is this going to affect our world, and how is this going to affect financially with like cryptocurrency? What's your point stand on that? And maybe IC or Hirsch can add on to that later as well.
Okay, so Web 3.0. So we have Web 3.0. So we have Web 1.0 and Web 2.0, right? So what is Web 1.0? So back in early 1990s till around like 2005. So Web 1.0 is basically, we call it it's a static web, so it's down, right? So it basically is a one-way information flow. So you can only serve, you can browse on the internet, but you cannot even leave your comments on articles. You cannot interact with the internet. So that's Web 1.0. And then we have Web 2.0. So since 2005, around 2005, thanks to those advanced tools such as JavaScript or HTML5. So we can build a more interactive platforms like YouTube, Facebook, or Wikipedia. So we can see a lot of social media, social platforms thrive like during the Web 2.0 time. So Web 3.0 is coming, right? So Web 3.0 basically it concludes AI technology and blockchain technology. So what is Web 3.0? Basically, it's an internet more intelligent, more autonomous, and more open. Yeah, this is surrounding like people, human, machine, like work interaction in a more decentralized way. So there are a few like key features of Web 3.0. So first of all, of course, this is more intelligent. So artificial intelligence is very important. So the algorithm and the machine need to know better of like what humans talking about. Okay. So second, decentralization. So things like people or like machines or like interact in a more decentralized way. So decentralization is a key factor in a Web 2.0 era. The last but not least, I would say machine to machine. So in Web 2.0 era, we can see a lot of human to human or human to machine interactions. But in Web 3.0, we can see a lot more interactions between machine to machine. For example, so your fridge at home, right? So probably like you run out of milk or fruits, those essentials at your place. So your fridge can basically just order those stuffs like directly without your permission. That's machine to machine communications. So that's kind of an example of that. Yeah. So that's Web 2.0.
But then with the cryptocurrency investment, and what do you think the potential of all this blockchain and cryptocurrency investment that's coming out now, the trend?
Okay. So talking about the chain of investment, so we can see many buzzwords like NFT, DeFi, and then also some what else? I mean, like DeFi and NFT probably be the most popular words cited in recent years, right? So basically, introducing cryptocurrency and tokens in blockchain technology, so it can create a whole new economy system. That's amazing. I mean, machines or humans, they can interact in a more, I would say like you basically introducing like one token or two tokens, even three tokens, so you can, it's just like you add on a few more parameters into a system. So it's a lot more, like interesting because you can play with it, like to come up with a more complicated ecosystem, and then it has a lot of economy value in it. So whole new economy.
So I see, coming from a traditional financial background, what do you think of what I can just say and talk about?
Traditionally, happy hour shouldn't be talking about this kind of figure approach. Look at, he wear the shoes, but not the socks. But I wear the socks. So I'm a traditional banker. So traditional banker sucks. What happened is, when we talk about DeFi and NFT, which is the real direction in the future. The traditional banking system for the financial world is actually building upon the trust by signing the contract. Let me take one very simple example. When you try to wire money from Taiwan to your friends in the States, what are you doing? You went to the branch, right? You sign a contract with the branch. The branch is sign another contract with the headquarters. Headquarters sign another contract with SWIFT. It's actually quite ironic. The SWIFT is rise quite slow, right? It's called SWIFT. SWIFT wire money to another headquarters of the bank. Another bank signed a contract with their branch and send the money to the other banks. So the reason why you have to sign that many contracts because nobody trusts each other unless you sign a contract. And with the nature of the blockchain, now you solve this thing. You could actually wire money to your friend in the States directly. So number one thing is about the trust. Number two thing is in the new world, the NUT is not only the institution, it's actually including every single person here. So that's the reason why you solve the two problems directly. So it's going to affect the banking industry very, very dramatically. So that's number one thing. But if you look at the current development, people saying that we right now have a very famous Coinbase, they are exchange over there. They're doing a lot of trading of the cryptocurrency. Are they really DeFi? Apparently not. They are a new center. They built a new center called exchange to replace the old center. The old center including stock exchange, currency exchange, commodity exchange. But right now, with the new trend of what we look at, including non-fungible token, including the so-called DeFi trend, it's become a real DeFi things. So when people try to do DeFi before, think about this one. In the States or in China, they have a so-called P2P financing. You try to borrow money not from the bank, but from the individuals. That's a DeFi as well. But DeFi is using very traditional approach. So what happened is, right now, with the approach you could have in blockchain era, you could do a lot of things differently. The number one thing is definitely not P2P, but P2P is going to be something we affect. The number one thing very clearly is going to be the supply chain financing. in the past, a lot of suppliers, they couldn't get their money back because they have to buy the material supplied to the what we call center plants. But what they could do, they have a lot of account receivable but with no cash. So they have to go to the bank using very expensive borrowing rate to really get the money back. But in the future, you don't need to do that. It's basically using blockchain. Foxconn is doing that one. The Hire is doing that one. TCL is doing that one. So there's a lot of people doing that one. So that is actually I would say, the very, very beta version of what we call DeFi. Not only this one, everything you think about skip over the intermediary. That's what it's going to be DeFi. But the real thing is, what are banks doing right now? What are financial institutions doing right now? They have no clue what's going on. They still don't know what's going to happen, what's going to change their world. So you look at, but the investor know already. You look at the Korea, the Kakao Bank just got listed. The market cap is already surpassing all the other traditional banks. But you look at the profit, apparently the traditional legacy banks are still bigger. But in terms of market cap, the Kakao Bank is leading. Robinhood get a really good business activity over there as well, including the market cap that you see the volume of the trading. And so the same thing is going to happen in Taiwan. That's a company called Yujie. They're only doing the payment and they're listing in emerging world. And their market cap is actually almost like a PC home. And the PC home's market cap is only 1/25 of Momo. So it really depends on how you really using the blockchain everything to make the market believe. You make the market believe not only in the market cap, including all the individuals like us is going to do it. I noticed those people sitting in the queue are much younger generation. Right? They are nature people. Yeah. And these are senior guys. They are the leader in the market. When more and more leaders buying the story and more young generation into the market, the DeFi and NFT is going to be everywhere there. And for NFT, the only one thing I'm going to remind is don't focus on the masterpiece of the artwork. Because you only have 1 or 2 artwork by Bensky, not a lot of work. But collectibles is going to be very interesting, including the players card, Major League Baseball, NBA players cards, or the collectible of the superstar, like Tom Hanks, whatever this guy, or the other AGC stuff. They're going to be very popular and they're going to be very flat. The price is not going to go up and down. They're going to build the real needs. That's another reflection of the future success of the tokenomics.
Yes, but then I wanted to follow up the question that you just mentioned, that what are the current challenge and opportunity in the blockchain venture capital market? Because you mentioned a lot just now, you're talking about these are the new trend, but what are the challenge, especially from your perspective?
About the venture market for
the blockchain venture capital market.
Okay, the venture capital market is not in Taiwan, other than rare buildings in Taiwan. I never really see a lot of people really focus on that. But if you look globally, without because of COVID-19, a lot of very loosely monetary policy, you see a lot of money everywhere. So in Taiwan alone, you see a lot of different funds. For example, you see it's not focused on the blockchain or whatever cryptocurrency. The Foxconn and Chinaccelerator, they actually formed a $10 billion fund. They say they're going to focus on the future EV, right? So which means there's a lot of money in the market, but they didn't notice that, like I mentioned, Taiwan's financial world is actually lagging behind globally. So if you really want to more focus on the rare buildings, you have to look around MOX, the global fund, right? So the market is going to be very good, no matter what you try to focus on. But you have to notice there's a detailed stuff, very subtle difference between different industries. For example, if you have to do the supply chain financing, don't focus on the market because the margin is too small. Wouldn't be able to help you make money. Maybe you should focus on textile, the future EV industry for the supply chain, because the future EV is actually going to destroy the traditional electronic supply chain model and also the traditional car model. So again, there's a lot of other things, but I believe it's going to be more and more global funds because you know that the blockchain is naturally a global market.
Okay. So Rich, I'd like to ask you some questions. So why NFT is the mass adoption of blockchain after Bitcoin, or what was your take on that? What do you think?
You know, I think that as we're slowly transitioning to a Web3 economy, the opportunity for creators, for business owners, for users of the internet to become stakeholders of the applications that they're using has become much more compelling for anyone who's transacting with each other, whether you're just reading something or gathering information, whether you're interacting with the website or you're playing a game or you're using a social media application, you name it, anything across the internet. I think we've all come to the realization that if we're able to monetize our usage, get paid for our data, get paid for the activity that we're contributing and the resources we're contributing, I think we're moving to this creator economy, what some people call the passionware economy, where everyone has become a small business, and any creator can have global distribution direct to consumers. And because of that, the NFT structure really provides a building block for Web3 to enable anyone to create a piece of content, define what that is. It could be anything, any type of experience, application, anything from art to science, music, education, you name it. You can, again, you can productize that content using the NFT structure. You can price that product in a variety of different ways. So you have a lot of flexibility on pricing. There's a lot of protocols that you can define that enable you to have, different benefits from and utility that come from that. And that's where we're working on Superworld is, as an example, how do you take an NFT and have real world, physical world utility? So there's a lot of flexibility there in the NFT structure. And then finally, you're able to generate royalties from the selling of those NFTs, from the utility that you're generating, and be able to do that on a programmatic basis globally. And so I think as the NFT structure, again, becomes more widespread, we're going to realize that that is the ultimate building block for the building of the Web3 that we're going towards in this journey.
Yeah, totally agree to that.
I want to add on something because we saw it very interesting because outside world, like I saw a few fellows here like in the industry, blockchain industry for a while, but go home and ask your mommy and daddy. So they probably don't know Ethereum, they probably don't know DeFi, but they definitely know NFT right after Bitcoin. So we in the industry, we saw a lot of transformations of the blockchain, right? So we saw Ethereum, the most innovative project right after Bitcoin, and after Ethereum, so we got smart contract. So when we got smart contract, we could issue our own tokens. So we experienced ICO bubble late 2017. After that, so lots of public chain and public blockchain such as Stellar and Cardano, you see Ripple, and also like of course Ethereum, right? So after that, we have some we have something called DeFi. DeFi is huge. Just like IC said, like decentralized finance is really amazing. Like you can basically skip the intermediary, and then you can do borrow and lending. You can do other banking services more efficiently. So after DeFi, that's NFT. So right, you see that you see a timeline of blockchain industry like evolving, but people from outside world, like from traditional world, they probably say Bitcoin and then NFT. So why is that? So it's really simple because first of all, NFT is simple. You don't have to know the whole token economy behind. You don't have to know blockchain technology. You don't have to know what's layer 2, but it's simply buy and sell. So that's NFT, just like like traditional our world market. So that's first. So second, most of the participants in NFT, they are celebrities, they are KOLs, they are opinion leaders or something. So I think this probably the NFT could be the mass adoption right after Bitcoin, because that every single one participating in this project, in this industry, they are famous. So yeah, that's my goal.
Thank you, Ivan. And I'd like to ask you, like, what's the cooperation or relationship between the crypto hedge fund and institution? Or what's your take on that? Because I would like to hear your perspective and also IC perspective as well.
Okay, so crypto hedge fund. Hedge fund is not a new term, right? So we have hedge fund or stock market or forex market or commodity market, but yeah, crypto hedge fund, because why institutions need crypto hedge fund? So we are more in the venture capital industry, but we see a lot since this industry is still at a kind of a baby stage. So all the deals, like early stage deals, all the companies, the valuation is not that high. So basically, the market, the industry just cannot contain that huge amount of money, right? But we are talking about like multi-billions grade of money. So from pension fund, traditional banks, all those huge insurance companies. So those kind of money, they need a container, they need somewhere to go. So venture capital market cannot serve this yet. So crypto hedge fund, why is it important? Because basically we're trading Bitcoins, right? We're trading Ethereum, we're trading those major coins. And speaking of Bitcoins, so the market cap of Bitcoin is basically sitting at number 6 of like all over the companies in the world. So the depth and the volume is enough for like it was a huge money to get it. So that's why the crypto hedge fund should be important, especially to those like family offices, like banking, like huge monies.
When people talk about hedge fund, sometimes they get related to portfolios. But what happened to the so-called hedge fund is because the stock market already has a couple hundred years, couple centuries history. So the so-called hedge fund means using different strategies. One of the main strategies is what we call long and short, right? So if you look at the mutual fund people is buying right now, they mainly that's only long. They're using the so-called shorts only to hedge the risk. But for hedge fund, when you long and short, it's all for your profits. They are not only hedge the risk. So hedge fund didn't hedge the risk. Hedge fund using the short to make more money, but of course it's only one type of one. So hedge fund. Cryptocurrency right now has a 30 years history, right? There's so many different currencies, but only a couple of them are really worth investing. And when you say it's worth investing, we definitely have to have a bigger trading volume. We have a certain market cap on that one. So look at a cryptocurrency, general currency. It's more like currency plus the stuff. Okay, so definitely you need the cryptocurrency hedge fund to help the institutional investor to get into the market because they have no idea what's going on. So they're gonna carve out part of their portfolio to this kind of a cryptocurrency hedge fund to help them get into the market. Okay. And like I mentioned, it's only 30 years in 2023. And people remember 4 or 5 years ago, the ICO become an even more notorious technology right now. So even people using the NFT, you look at NFT, it's actually the way you launch the NFT is very similar to ICO, but nobody's going to use it the same because ICO become notorious. But right after the major cryptocurrency, I also believe NFT is going to be the next generation of investment for the cryptocurrency world. But be very careful about that. Like I mentioned, you don't want to invest in only certain piece, but every piece is so expensive. You want to invest certain market that have liquidity, like 300, 400, 3,000, 1 million. That's what we focus on. If we could really move there and with enough liquidity, the next stage in around 2 years or 1 year, you will see cryptocurrency hedge fund is going to focus on the equity market as well. And the whole market is going to become healthier. And DeFi, like I already mentioned, DeFi is more like a concept. Everything is going to DeFi, right? You could have a different DeFi concept. But again, young generation here didn't know about stock market enough. So when you look at the cryptocurrency market, you have to know one thing. Cryptocurrency have a 2 nature in one coin, including not only stock but also currency. So it's a little bit more difficult, a little bit more sophisticated compared with the traditional stock market or compared with the traditional currency market.
Rush, do you have anything to add on, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that as we expand into DeFi and we have more and more users and Web3 natives, the potential for all markets, including the markets relating to NFTs, is going to enable institutions like hedge funds to be able to, again, be able to hedge many of the positions that they have utilizing these mechanisms. I think we're looking at a lot of things on the token design side that we're doing in a virtual world like Superworld that enables, our super citizens to be able to leverage transactions and activity that they're making, and to be able to create their own vehicles potentially within a virtual world, within a metaverse, within the context of this creator ecosystem that I mentioned before. And so I think you're going to see lots of different types of hedge funds, venture capital type institutions in the form of DAOs, and other types of kind of combinations of businesses and investment vehicles and creators come together, utilizing, not only influencers, but, being able to kind of take that global market. And, I have a concept that we've coined called live to earn. You hear about play to earn. I think we're going to move in Superworld to live to earn, where the ability to do things in the real world are going to impact potentially your NFT portfolio, right? Your portfolio of assets that you're creating, be able to interact with others that are also similarly creating assets, and doing that on a locational basis, geographically, globally.
Thank you. And I still like to ask you, what does the traditional finance world look at DeFi? Because you just mentioned that in the conversation, you're talking about DeFi, you're talking about, and then with your background, I just want to hear your insight.
Do you really think the traditional banks here in Taiwan know what is DeFi? Have you ever met any bankers here in Taiwan talking about DeFi with you? I'm not a traditional banker. Yeah, I also agree with all of you. What I put out my notes is also the real value of the so-called blockchain world is actually play to earn is actually bring a lot of things, because you put a value of us in the same time, right? But banking is different. Banking live on the borrowing rate, they live on the transaction fee. They didn't live on increase the value of that way. The good part of the so-called blockchain is actually they combine banking industry along with the security industry all together. So when you put your money in the blockchain derivatives, this actually means all the people in this loop could benefit from it, but not in the banking world, right? Security right now, you already have a Robinhood to change the nature of the security parts, but banking still live back into the days when the rich smart family from the bank. So I don't know how the traditional bankers look at the DeFi thing. They may start to get nervous because they see more and more countries right now saying that not in addition to fiat, they want to have more cryptocurrency. But I really doubt any single senior bankers in Asia, other than the virtual banks, pure virtual banks, really know about what the DeFi is going to change the market. They are good because number one thing, most of the governments here in Asia still didn't want DeFi to go too fast. So they were using their regular, they have a lot of regulatory tools to block you away from that way, right? The second thing is there are so many banks in DeFi. If you have anything, I'm not doing it, only the same, right? So who cares? On the other, even a leader here in Taiwan industry didn't do anything about DeFi. I haven't seen any banks here in Taiwan ever try to approach to focus on DeFi. Even in the past 5 years, you saw so many banks here in Taiwan, did they really get involved with the so-called blockchain industry? Okay, so let me give you one idea on this one. I'm recently working on a project. The project is trying to tap in some alliance, the electronic vehicle alliance. They try to find banks to help them do that thing. So we look around the banks, what are they doing here in Taiwan? We figure out most of the infrastructure is actually being built upon by the parent company, not the industry. The banking is really doing one thing. I think which is really successful on this one. They try to build some ecosystem, but the infrastructure, none of the banks really own the infrastructure here about the blockchain. You could say that you don't even own that one, if only you know to have you know how to capitalize on that one. But honestly, you didn't even see any banks right now capitalize on that one. Fubon may be the more successful one, but they are using the smart contracts to the insurance contract. Of course, this is another natural thing, but not in the banking part. In the banking part right now, in very few traditional bankers or legacy bankers really know what's going on. I think 1 year from now, they will get really understand. They don't know what's going on.
Ivan, do you agree on that? Or how are you going to communicate with all this institution to talk about blockchain and DeFi? What's your take? What's your strategy?
I did talk to banks or most traditional venture capitalists, but I feel very disappointed. Can I say that? So what's amazing? What's funny is one of my good friend, a very good friend, but he's a banker, JP Morgan Chase. But so still, I mean, early this year, 2021, he thinks that Bitcoin is still a scam. I have no idea. We are good friends. I'm in this so deep, but I have no idea. But I know that's like most of the thinkers, probably like on traditional finance world, they think because I saw so many people in Hong Kong, like they don't embrace, they don't adopt cryptocurrency until probably like last year, 2020. So yeah, that's one thing. So speaking of virtual bank, so IC just mentioned Kakao Bank, right, in Korea. So yeah. So why? Because we in 2019 we invested in the Kakao's blockchain project called Clayton back in 2019. So over 2 years, he gave us around like 60x returns. This kind of return you cannot happen in a traditional one. 2 years fully diluted 60x. So yeah, that proves that Kakao, Kakao is vision, and they know like what's the way to go. But yeah, it's still a public chain, so it's not related to DeFi or anything. But yeah, DeFi, so decentralized finance, you can basically do everything you need to do at bank, but do it on blockchain and with more secure, more ownership way to do so. It's not just only power and lending. You can find interest on blockchain. You can actually you can see a lot of aggregators. So optimize your performance, your ROIs on blockchain. So lots many innovations, which is really amazing.
Let me try to, sorry about that. I misunderstood your passage before. I saw you asking about the banks in Taiwan. So actually, let's buy two different labels. The global virtual banks, they are the leader. They know about cryptocurrency already. They will focus on DeFi very aggressively. The second tier is what we say global banks, including JP Morgan, including Citi, this kind of people. What happens to these banks actually? They are CDA bank. All already know about the power of that. Like JP Morgan, JP Morgan. They already say that we have to focus on this one already. But the junior banker in these banks, maybe they have too much money, they don't trust the cryptocurrency. So they didn't know DeFi is coming. And in local banks here in Taiwan, is the other amount. The junior banker, the junior workers, they think you got no future working in the bottom of the traditional bank. So they focus on new things very aggressively. But senior bankers, especially in the Asia bank, they didn't really buy the story. Maybe they are only about 3 or 5 years to retirement age, so they don't care about that one. So I believe next year nobody would actually ignore the traditional cryptocurrency, including Ethereum, Bitcoin. In the last 3 or 4 years, nobody could really ignore NFT. And this kind of non-fungible is actually the infrastructure for a lot of DeFi things. So I think that's kind of be true. So don't worry about your friends. He's making too much money before, so he didn't know the thunderstorm is coming.
So Hirsch, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, I think the traditional banks and traditional financial institutions are going to be coming around and coming around very quickly, as we've seen that their investors and shareholders are seeing the gains that are happening in the crypto market as well as the opportunities. I think it's going to come bottom up with customers of these banks. High net worth customers are already asking for this. I was at UBS and HSBC as an investment banker, and as we were structuring products for very, very high level corporations. I think a lot of those banks are, also being universal banks driven by, their wealth management divisions, their retail divisions, and those customers are already, are getting exposure to crypto through Coinbase or Binance or other exchanges. And so, I think that these banks are going to be changing their stance in a big way over the next couple of years. I think there's the whole ecosystem from, service providers to retail starting to accept crypto, Stripe, others, kind of integrating in this is going to, cause that, kind of final nail in the coffin for them to ultimately kind of totally accept and open up. So I think we're going to see it a lot quicker than we imagine. And it's going to, once you're going to see one or two kind of totally open up, it's going to topple everyone else. So I'd be very surprised if in the next couple of years, we don't see, a huge uptick in wide stream acceptance and utilization from mainstream financial institutions in this space.
Thank you. So my final question, actually, I'd like to ask Ivan, because Revenue Capital is in Taiwan, one of the first and only fund that is focusing on blockchain technology and investment. You guys started really early, and we're very focusing on this, right? So I'd like to know, what's your goal and your future vision for Revenue Capital, and then what is for the next phase? Because again, the whole industry is growing so fast, right? We're looking at cryptocurrency, we're looking at NFT, all this is happening right now nowadays. What's your vision for the company, and how you think it's going to grow?
The goal would definitely be, I gotta watch my mouth. Make tons of money for my investors, right? Shit love money. So of course, we will keep investing in both, equity, blockchain startups, and then also token projects, right? And we will publish so-called RBC insights on our website, on our social media, since we noticed that we cannot just we should say something about it. Yeah, right. Back then, probably 3-4 years ago, we would do a lot of things. We joined this emerging tech, so-called blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. So we made some money, and we reinvest the money, right? But so at the moment, we think okay, we should go out, and then we should kind of educate the general public. And then people should know about blockchain, should know about what's good, what's bad, and what you should avoid, and when you should participate. So what product you should buy, right? So we will write some articles, in depth, or just those or those easy ones for general public. So that's first. And second, we will launch. So we were talking about crypto hedge fund. That's why we will launch a crypto hedge fund in Cayman in Q4 this year. So why doing this setup? Because we were, to be honest, we were gonna introduce this kind of structure into Taiwan, but it could be probably very difficult in the next 10 years. So it's okay that we set it up in Cayman, and we have an offshore structure, but everyone in Taiwan or out of Taiwan or investors who wants to participate in this chain, or to get some first mover advantage, you can join our fund, and then we will launch it. It's a $30 million US dollar fund in Cayman, along with our portfolio. So it's a quant-trading team in New York, registered in Delaware. So yeah, that's it's kind of a huge thing for us, because we prepared it for almost 6 months, and then finally we're launching it. Yeah, and then last we will go out and then talk to other funds, talk to a lot of founders. So I think in mid-November this year, there's a Meet Taipei events in Taiwan, and we will have booths there. Meanwhile, we will have NFT forums, both online and offline. So that's the recent activities.
Okay, so a lot of education, a lot of the spread out the words, working with different institutions, setting up your own fund. Sounds like have a lot of planning and goals that is happening, right?
Yeah, because we want funders to come to us. You know what? Because in this world, like many people know, in blockchain investments, so we investors, we need to show muscle. Actually, show muscle to funders, to projects. Because the group projects is so hard to get allocation or like to get to invest in. So you need to help the project, probably like introducing some developers to them, or do some BD sales to them. Sometimes we do recruiting for projects. So that's why like we need to like, hey, just passively like welcome them instead of like actively like go out and talk to them.
So now we're open for questions. So anyone that's here offline or online, if you guys have any question or would like to ask any of the panelists online, or like please raise your hand and pass you the mic. Oh, there's one in the back. Can we pass the mic to the person in the back?
Facebook has recently invested around $50 million into metaverse. This will have great impact on crypto or blockchain technology or NFTs development in the future. Thanks.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Facebook has recently invested around $50 million into metaverse economy. So do you see this will have an impact or blockchain technology in the future? Do you see new chances or new challenges?
So Facebook has invested a large amount of money into metaverse, and then what do you guys think of the impact for this investment, Hirsch?
Yeah, so they are creating a definite major push to look at how the metaverse can be impactful across all of their businesses. And I think the $50 million, which is only a small amount of, if you look at their revenue on a quarterly basis, and I think they're investing that over a few years, the 50 mil. So it's a very small amount. However, I think it is a great first step for them as a company to examine kind of all the implications that the metaverse is going to have on our lives. So I'm very interested. They seem like they're opening it up to a lot of organizations, internationally that are kind of all focused on this effort. So I think it's a great initiative. I also think that they're doing a lot on the hardware side with Oculus, with what they're doing with their Horizon initiative. Mark Zuckerberg has come out and, reframed the company as a metaverse company. So all of this type of attention and exposure to the metaverse, to the things that, we're doing at Superworld that have now become very mainstream and in terms of, people's zeitgeist of the word and what's happening in the NFT space. I think it's all positive. We're very open at Superworld. So we are an open metaverse. We're open to content that's created anywhere. We're open for content that's created in Superworld to be shared anywhere. Again, Superworld is built on NFTs very interoperably across blockchains, across software, hardware platforms, glasses, haptics, audio, you name it. And so, I think as more and more attention comes to the space and, the smartest people start working on, solutions here, whether they're AR, VR, blockchain, AI, AR cloud, all of these initiatives, this is all very positive for the industry. And so it's going to get more and more exciting. So I'm very supportive of their efforts. I'm supportive of what Microsoft is doing, what Google is doing, what companies in Asia, and there's a number of them are doing in the space. Unreal on the glasses side in terms of what they're building. It is a very exciting space to be, and I think that announcement is one piece of a bigger wave that's coming. So I'm excited.
Ivan or I see you guys have anything to add on?
My answer is very similar. I think it's more a result of a lot of people already doing, but it's gonna be kicking off another initiative. So it's gonna be always positive circle down the road. So we look at that, what they're investing, because they already noticed it's gonna be the mainstream in the next decade. So they're gonna do that. So that's basically, I think it's gonna be positive impact. And with more and more people jumping into this bandwagon, it's gonna be more interesting.
Okay. Anyone have any more questions? Oh, we have one more in the back. Can you pass the microphone to the back? Thank you.
Well, so I'm a big NFT guy, so I wanted to hear first your take, especially, and maybe you guys as well. I wanted to hear your take on the current approach metaverse projects have to our digital land. So Decentraland, Sovereign Space, all these projects, they would have a limited number of like land supply. Like let's say only 10,000 land plots available. So I can see how, like, at the superficial level, people would want to restrict the number of plots people could have because the lower the quantity, the higher the price, right? So people would want to invest in that. But why are we limiting ourselves? Because I feel like when the purpose of going virtual is to not be constrained by the limited resources we have here on Earth, right? So for Super World, you said that you take like the Earth's land and divide that among like 60 billion entities or something like that. So I'm curious why that was your approach, because I think that limits mainstream adoption, because if the price goes too high, then the barrier to entry becomes extremely high as well. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think you bring up a very important point is virtuality enables us to not be limited by space and time and other factors in many different ways, depending on what we're talking about in terms of the content or experiences that you want to create. And so there is this infinite possibilities that are available when you're talking about a virtual world. And in Super World, again, to be clear, anyone has the ability to create anything anywhere and monetize anything anywhere and discover anything from anywhere. So there's an infinite number of filters on the world. So there is that component of the infinite possibilities in Super World. There's also the component that there are 64 billion virtual plots that cover the Earth. That is a finite number of plots, back to your point. And the reason that exists is because the plots are limited because there's a potential for an owner of that plot to be able to capture some of the value that's created from all of the activity that happens on their plot, right? That's just kind of the economics of the model. And if that was unlimited, there would maybe not be a reason to purchase a plot, or you'd look at kind of centralized economics and how there's inflationary practices from creating more and more currency, right? And I think Web3 and looking at NFTs or looking at even Bitcoin, we see the aspects of kind of having the anti-inflationary practices of limiting certain resources. And so as you look at a metaverse, that limitation in some way is an important part of the economics or the tokenomics that are occurring there. But then juxtaposed to that, we have, again, the unlimited aspect of you don't need to buy a plot to get involved in Super World or many other worlds out there. And you can create anything, discover anything, you can monetize anything. And so there's, back to your point, there's many aspects of the metaverse and Super World specifically where there isn't any limit. But on the real estate aspect of it, we have 64 billion We're going to facilitate buying and selling. So there's going to be a very robust secondary market. There's going to be a lot of, ability to kind of have pricing decision making on what's happening with your property based on real world economics, real world factors, and other factors that are more virtual. So there's going to be a lot of trading there. But, and also probably likely fractionalization in the future of that plot, or even leasing of a plot. And so there's going to be more and more opportunities to add more optionality to plot ownership, which I think is going to help further alleviate the problem that you're describing. I think our high level vision is that we want anyone to be able to interact in Superworld, regardless of whether they're buying a plot, regardless of whether they're paying for something. It is free to use for the most part. And if you do buy something, you become a key stakeholder in the platform in a variety of ways. So that's kind of the high level answer, but I think it's a really, really awesome question. And I think the crux of it is the scarcity and the finiteness of some of the aspects of Superworld specifically add to the economics of being a stakeholder on the platform.
Yeah, that's a good question. So in my opinion, NFT, buy and sell market right now is still pure speculation, but NFT is way more of it. So for example, have you ever heard of financial NFT? So I'll give you two examples. So first one, Uniswap V3. So Uniswap is the largest, biggest decentralized exchange in blockchain world. So the trading value is almost everybody knows finance, right? So the trading value is huge. So in their V3 version, they use NFT instead of fungible token to represent your liquidity portion. So you can better allocate, you can optimize your strategies so you can get better return from being a liquidity provider. So that's one. And me myself and a bunch of friends, so we're building a platform. Like we do a lot of token investment. So we build a platform by our habits, our flows of investment. So we use NFT as say OTC trading. Say you can swap, you can trade your save, you can trade your SAP to other people by NFT. So it creates the transparency, and then it creates security. So you can you can create more liquidity from tokenize this kind of assets or contracts into NFT. So that's so-called financial NFT, and then I'm very looking forward to it.
And we have one question from online Zoom. I was wondering, would like to ask first about what would be trigger for NFTs to get another leg to the upside in terms of mass adoption within the millennials and Gen Z? And from your experience, what's the penetration rate of NFT ownership within these two generations?
Yeah, I think that the NFT market, again, is just at the beginning in terms of adoption. There's a variety of segments of that market, things like art and collectibles that have become, more mainstream much more quickly than the other, many other potential segments of the market that are still evolving and are going to come into play. And so, I think that in the Gen Z side of it, gaming, art, music, all of the things that they would want to collect and own, those things are definitely relatable to them. However, I think you're going to start seeing more utility to NFTs, buying a concert ticket as an NFT, going to the movies and buying an NFT, maybe taking classes at your university and, buying an NFT. A lot of the blockchain aspects of this are going to be hidden. So you're not going to, as a buyer or a customer, you're not going to maybe know that it is an NFT, but you're going to be buying NFTs when you do a lot of different things that we're doing in our daily lives. And so I think you're going to see a lot of hidden NFT adoption just from the technology becoming more and more prevalent in our daily lives. At Superworld, that's what we're all about, is how do we apply these technologies to our daily lives? How do we make them mainstream, because they're a part of what you're doing in your physical life, not just virtual life. And so, again, I think that's kind of what's going to make it more mainstream. And, like I said, I think to the second question, I think we're very early in adoption. I think you're going to start seeing more enterprise adoption of NFT technology. You're going to see it become commonplace in your everyday transactions. And we're going to see that growth of that adoption and the percentage of users who can claim that they have NFTs in their wallet, as the other trends with Web3 and cryptocurrency also increased. And that wave's going to come faster than we know, so faster than we think. So I think that kind of answers that second question.
Thank you. Another question from online says that Web3 and NFT are great, it's awesome, but there's a huge cost of carbon to use already, especially with NFT, and neither widely adopted by the mainstream yet. So besides waiting for the POS, any of the panelists will think that how can we address the carbon footprint issue?
I think seriously, I didn't get this question because I think maybe the person asking about like Bitcoin mining, right? And then lots of carbon footprint, and then waste a lot of energies. But around like 67% of the energies, the electricities Bitcoin mining consumes is clean energy, is green energies. Well, why is that? Because Bitcoin mining, there are a few factors. I'm not a miner, but it's just sure something I know. So first of all, the computing power, right? So that's why ASIC, you need ASIC to do Bitcoin mining, but not just a random PC, laptop. So second, the cooling system. So that's why that's why a lot of Bitcoin mining pools setting up in Siberia or Iceland, those those places, you don't need to spend a lot of money building cooling systems. And third, of course, the cost of the electricity. So that's why actually lots of Bitcoin mining machines, they are consuming green energies. That as I know, and why is that? I think it's a perfect fit. For example, in Iceland, so lots of renewable energy, lots of green energies in Iceland, but Iceland is kind of isolated from the world. So they used to sell a lot of alumni. Why? Because they can use renewable energy to generate a lot of electricity, but they cannot sell electricity out of Iceland because due to the the consumption during the electricity transition, right? But so instead they produce alumni, because producing manufacturing alumni is very electricity intensive. So but since Bitcoin comes out, there's a better solution. So you just build Bitcoin mining pool there, and then it can on-site and consume a lot of electricity created by green energies. So that's why I think that shouldn't be a problem, right?
Okay. So before we wrap up the panel session, can we take a group photo with the panel so that we can have yeah. So can we stand up and take a group photo? And can MOX come on stage as well? Oh,
Okay. Guys, you want to come over?
let's take one photo first, and then we have everyone to come in. Okay.
Okay. You're. Yep.
Bring the projectors on your.
All right. 3, 2, 1. One more. All right, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, can we have everyone on stage as well to take a group photo with us? Don't be shy, everyone. Please come on. Let's have a group photo together. I know. So let's not block it.
The guy named Ken, somebody asked him to come over.
Alright, we need everyone to go a bit closer.
So we have to make a circle because we have to get closer. So can we have 2 or 3 layers? The first, yeah, can sit or
Get closer here.
好像左边的朋友们靠近一点点，请大家靠近点，我们看不到你们。
Somebody just speaking.
Alright, everybody ready?
Okay.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, cheers. One more. 3, 2, 1. Great.
Thank you everyone. So we have some food and drinks on the side for the networking session. Please make sure you take away the dessert snack box back. So that's for everyone to take home. We're not allowed to eat in the room, but you can take the snack box home.